the countdown and then forgot to go live. Like it's always something, you guys, we can never just start like and just go, hi, welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. I've always got to like giggle or dance or something, but
Right.
hey, welcome to the show, the shit show. Oh, we forgot to tell our guests we cuss on here. Crap.
Oh, yes. Things you just learned.
A little punch drunk, you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Like, obviously, we're happy to be here.
Yes, it is a great time. It is our last Wednesday night show.
Our last Wednesday. Yep.
So we're probably a little
Next
giddy.
week, we're start with Mondays at noon.
Absolutely.
So. And we got a guest. I'm so excited.
Yes.
I was worried for a second there. We didn't have anybody booked. But you know what? As always, the universe provides. And we're on this. Okay, so the first of the year, we started out with this writer, and then we went on to someone who had written a book, and then when somebody else had written a book, and then somebody else had written a book, and now we're moving into marketing. And I really like that. We've got a little theme going.
Yeah.
January was books and writing, and this month I think is going to be marketing. But who knows what the universe will deliver.
Business through these months.
Yes. So anyway, I'm Angelique. I'm with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. If you ever listen to this show, you know what we're about.
Yeah.
Laura and I do really similar things, but instead of competing, we support each other, and we're loving it.
Absolutely. We were just talking with our guest before the show about, the team and what you're bringing in and stuff. And we're really big on the non-compete. And it really does work. I know a lot of times I've been questioned about stuff, and it's just a choice. We support each other. We work with each other. We really are here to help, and we authentically live that way. So we never feel like we're taking away from our own to have to give. That's not how that works. So it works out. So we're really excited, and we're so glad to have everybody here. And
who are you with? Tell everybody who you are.
Oh, I'm Laura with ODA. Sorry. Other duties as assigned. Who am I? That's a big question. And I own a virtual assistant and project management agency where we help women business owners behind the scenes really get that work done, get that organization, help with starting a team, if you need to start a team, and managing that and what that looks like. So there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that goes into starting to build the business on the team side. So that's what we're focused on.
And we have an awesome guest that's going to talk a little bit about that too. So
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Love it. Bring her on. So I am going to introduce Amy. Amy Anderson is a widely respected and creative industry leader with more than 25 years of experience at brands such as Calvin Klein, 17, and the New York Times Digital. As co-founder of Wild Coffee Marketing, she focuses on transforming businesses through a diverse set of disciplines and tailor-made teams. Seeing the unique opportunity to blend creativity and data, she improves both brands and entire organizations. She has a track record of driving value for her clients through conceptualizing and implementing brand and growth strategies, organizing outsourced teams, and developing innovative marketing initiatives.
Wow. Welcome.
Oh, it's quite a mouthful. So thank you for getting that out. Thank you for having me, guys.
And I have to ask, Wild Coffee, where'd you get that name? Because I'm a huge coffee drinker.
Yes. And it's actually, wild coffee is a plant native to Florida that was growing outside my window while I was writing my business plan for my consulting
firm. Are you in Florida?
I am.
I am too.
Nice.
Where do you find yourself?
In Hernando County. North of Tampa.
I'm in Naples now.
Okay.
But for many years, I was in Miami. And wild coffee actually grows on both coasts because when I finally moved back to my hometown 5 years ago, because my company started to grow and my mom and dad are here, I was taking a run on the Greenway and there's a sign and it says Wild Coffee.
That is so
because
cool.
It grows right there.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And it's not the kind you can drink, but it is shiny and vibrant and grows on its own. And I kept having to cut it back with a machete. And I thought it was a really good metaphor for what I was trying to create for myself and what I was trying to create for my clients too. So
cool.
And you know, guys, we name companies in my firm. it is very hard to do in this environment because so much is taken. You can do a trademark knockout search for some of the most ridiculous concepts, banal, and they're taken. And then you have to find a domain. So naming is really hard. So Wild Coffee, believe me, it was not taken. So
I bet not. And I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about because I'm always coming up with these great ideas, right? And then I'm always trying to figure out, well, what can I name it? And then, oh, is there a domain for that? And so much is taken.
Yes.
Because we had a guest on last year. She talked about starting the self-love club. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. But that name's already taken. And so many names similar to it are. So anyway.
Yes. But you have to, it
Naming.
forces you to be creative, right? We just named a
Yeah.
pricing engine for one of our mortgage clients, a big lender. We named it Spark, right? And because you think of quick, united fast, So I think that because of branding conventions now, when you have things like Google or you have, one of the biggest companies of the world is an Apple, right? We have a lot of freedom, and rather than be descriptive, those are hard to remember when you
Yeah.
describe something. So you have to think of something with stopping power, something out of the ordinary, something that sounds good in the mouth, is easy to pronounce and spell. And that's one of the things. We just named a bank in Nashville Sonata. And it was an ode to the music. I wanted to call it acoustic. That was one of my final choices. But our client chose Sonata, and that's, just a play on music, but it's for a bank, so you can get really creative in this environment too.
Yeah. And we have to get creative with our teams too, especially, you were talking before we started recording about dispersed teams, right? And how everybody's kind of, not everybody, but a lot more companies, when they came back from COVID, they stayed remote, or many of their employees, did. They didn't open their offices again. Everybody just stayed home and worked, man. And it's a new culture. It's a different culture. And I think it's becoming more mainstream than it was. But along with it comes all these neat, different organizational behaviors that are challenging. Like HR has gotten really challenging for these companies, with everybody being so separate and not housed in one location, things like that. I know when I started my team, I started out and I had some hard lessons to learn. I lost a client in the process, and it was quite the learning curve. And I got to the point where it's like, okay, I can't hire somebody unless they intern with me and they can basically prove their mettle, right?
Right.
Are you finding that to be a similar situation for you, for your clients?
Well, we founded Wild Coffee in 2017 as a remote company from the start. So when COVID happened, we had already been working in a sort of distributed format for 3 years. So I think it's different when you're switching gears versus it was what you intended from the beginning. And we were on site with clients. We have outsourced CMOs, outsourced marketing teams. So in the beginning, we were very regional. It's best to work in your backyard, right? So that when you're figuring out your model and your business, you have sort of a high touch client model. Since then, our clients have expanded nationally, and I have 20 team members in 8 or 9 states now, I believe. So what's important is that you start with your values, because no one has anything to align themselves around until you have a set of values that when you are interviewing, when you hire on everyone's first day as part of their onboarding, I spend an hour with them. And, I talk about what our values are. I talk about this culture we call flip the turtle. It's a spirit of cooperation and kindness. And so when you have those values in place, then you can start to set a culture that also has accountability around it. So we have systems, we have communication systems, we have ways of reporting. So I'm pretty clear. And plus we record time as consultants. That's what we're selling, is time and ideas and creative output. Right. So I'm very clear about what happens. But when you're very close and people like each other a lot, and it's a psychologically safe environment, and people talk a lot, then you're connected and you know what's happening. It's that sort of disconnectedness that you could have with your team that's very risky. And it sounds like maybe you had a little bit of that going on in the beginning with your team when clients are at risk, because then you don't even know what's happening, right?
Well, the situation was basically I hired them. I trusted that what they said they could do, they could do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, great. Here's the client. Here's what they need. Let me know if you have any questions. I heard diddly squat. I'm thinking, wow, she's doing great. I'd check in. How you doing? How are things going? Good, good, good. Okay. I didn't ask to see, okay, where are you at, or anything like that, because I felt like, oh, that might be a little like, oh, I don't trust you. And I didn't want to foster that. But in the end, I mean, a day before the deadline, she's like, I'm really sorry. I can't figure this out.
Right. Right.
And I had hired her as the expert in this particular platform. So now I'm fumbling to figure it out on the fly and get it done.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why I implemented internships and didn't just go, okay, great. I'm glad you know that platform so well. Here's the assignment. So, but I think you're right. The connectedness, it's harder to get that. I work with a client locally and I work in the office, and just like I've done live events in the past for years. I did live events. And then we started doing more virtual events, quarterly team meetings, things like that, all because everybody's spread out all over the place. I was worked for a coaching firm. So their coaches could be out on assignment in Hawaii, but we still need to do this meeting. So I think we were just starting to get into, hey, how do we stay connected on the same page when we're not in the office together? And that was just something that, I was in corporate for decades. And so when you're used to being in the same office with people and seeing them and making that touch, that connection, it's challenging to get that virtually. But I felt like we did get it down finally about the same time that, I had a life-altering event. But so how was there a learning curve for you? I know there was for me. For you when you first started between 2017 and say 2020, when the shit hit the fan and you better have your act together or else?
Well, I think the people side I've always sort of gotten. My business partner and I worked together in 2004. He actually hired me into a financial services company in Miami, and we worked together for 4 or 5 years. He's a very, very, very good operator who owned an agency before we started this consulting firm. So on the people side, I think and I do like to think that women are exceptional at this, in connection, in our intuition, in really active listening, knowing things, when things are happening, when someone's off, when something's not quite right. I do believe that we can lean into some of those sort of qualities that a lot of women have in our leadership. I do believe that kindness, nurturing, care belongs in the workplace, because if you see your team as whole human beings and you honor that and you honor their human experience, I don't call them employees. They're my team members. I am a member of the team as well. Yeah. And you have to see them in their full humanity, and COVID, I think, helped us with a lot of that. We were talking about the cats earlier, that, all the veneer got stripped away, and things were just very real, and you saw people in their environments. And I think that was sort of the start of some of that. Unfortunately, it's not right for everyone to be working in a distributed format. It's not good for a lot of companies. And if they can make it work, great, but it doesn't lend itself to all businesses. So we've been very fortunate.
That's true.
But just staying connected is a way that you just sort of keep a better pulse on what's happening, what they need, how to support them to be better, how to do their jobs to the best of their ability.
We use Slack. Do you use any platforms specific to that for communication?
We do. We use, I love Slack. And it was like one of my big things I was overruled on, that there's a free platform inside of our project management system built for agencies. So we use Teamwork and we use the chat in there. Okay. I've gotten used to it over the years. But yes, we had a channel to share what music you were listening to that day. We
Oh,
do
awesome.
virtual happy hours. We get together in person. I travel to see them the best that I can. We celebrate birthdays. We're a big birthday work anniversary company. So look for the ways to celebrate your team.
Yeah.
Look for the ways to stay connected. And so that they like their work, because I see it as my responsibility that people go home to their families after they're working with Wild Coffee all day. And I want them bringing good into their homes, because a lot of people then have night jobs where they are cooking and they are cleaning up and they are taking care of the people.
Yes.
So well, I don't know if my boys liked it, but I was like, oh, okay, time for mom to start her night job now. And they're like, Mom.
Yeah.
But it's
But
my night job.
yeah. And there's a guy I follow on social media. His name's Gary Burka. He's a human biologist, and
From Naples.
yeah. And he, I don't remember what exactly his title was, but he worked for life insurance companies to predict when people would die.
An actuary. Yes, Gary was actually based in Naples for quite some time. He might still have a presence here, but yes, we followed him for quite some time. Yeah.
Yes. But
Yeah.
I follow him on social media. And so almost every day I watch one of his little reels or whatever. But the latest reel I saw, and of course now I can't find it, but he found research that proved that women have more brain cells and are in fact smarter than men. And so he took it to his girlfriend. His girlfriend's like, duh. But then he tried to find another study to disprove it. And all he could find was a study that proved it even more so.
Yeah, we have more density actually in our brain, and our dendral cells and the connections are much more dense. So that's why a lot of times you'll see if a girl has autism, it presents in a very profound, strong way, because there's just more margin for error, if that makes sense, because we have so many dendral cells and the connections are so dense. Yes, I mean, I find us rather nimble and interesting creatures, because there are a lot of roles that we have to play. And I was talking to someone last night about how our lane is narrow. I find that, to be assertive, but not too assertive.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Gosh. Did you
Bold,
see
but
the
not
Barbie
too bold.
movie?
Loud. Yes. Yeah. And that spoke to a lot of us about that. And in business, I have a business partner who's a man, and that comes in very handy, probably for both of us. There are certain situations where our interpersonal skills are better in certain situations, but delivering bad news does not come as easily as a consultant from me as it does from him. I think a lot of people would rather hear it from,
psychologically interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
You can see that. I saw a study today that was saying that when women gather, that the energy is so powerful, that there is something in the gathering of women. So when it's like, yes, a girl's night out or a day or a weekend or whatever, when we gather, it's much more powerful. And that if men would take on that same type of feel to it, and that gathering feel that we have, and really come together like we do, it would have the same effect, the same power for them in that. But it's just so, not, I don't know what men or whatever, but a lot of them, it's just not their thing. I'm not going to do that. Not my
I think the conditioning for women to be small, to not be heard, to all of those things, it's just as bad on the other extreme for men.
Yes. Well, I've raised two boys who are 17 and 19. And there was a really powerful book called Raising Cain, The Emotional Life of Boys, that I read when they were very, right. That don't shame them for some of the urges that they have when it comes to, don't take the play guns from them, because they're going to make it out of a slice of bread, was one thing that they have to, they have different urges. And it was really great for me. First of all, we celebrate emotional release in my family. Like, oh my gosh, you're crying. You're so sad. Like, oh buddy, that's so good for you. Let this out. You're safe here. All feelings are safe, or all feelings are welcome. All behaviors are not. That was my big mantra raising them. So I do find for them to be emotionally free, and, a lot of men haven't been conditioned that way. So
No, they have not.
They haven't.
And but we are, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm seeing younger men than me, unfortunately. They get it, and they're becoming real partners. and having real partners in the relationships that they're having with women. And but I find most of the men my age are still very quote unquote old school, old man, men's club, macho, machismo, all that stuff. And
Well,
it's
we're
really
all
too bad.
asked to go out of our traditional roles that used to be considered traditional, right? So men are asked to participate much more at home with children and family, and women are out representing 50% of the workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are days when, I don't know, we have 17 clients on our roster. I have 20 team members. It's a lot to manage on some days. And I think, gosh, I feel so far out of my comfort zone and at the true sort of heart of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of the pressure and the driving and the fact that I have to be objective about so many things. And I just would love to be just taking care of everyone. And that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it does feel a little outside of what I was built to do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Other times, like I told one of my sons this weekend that I feel incredibly intellectually stimulated by what I do. And I don't know how I could live if I weren't feeling challenged intellectually, if I weren't creating, if I weren't connecting. But at the same time, I'm in an office in my house by myself for 7 years.
Yeah.
So, I'm connected, I'm talking, I'm yammering all day long alone. So, my kids were here until a year and a half ago, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
When I'm like you, I used to, when I worked in corporate, because it was just phone calls, I would pace in front of my cubicle and it would just be constant. And I have found myself from time to time saying, if I'm trying to deal with something or brainstorm or think about things, I'll be like, I'm going to go off camera. And I do start pacing behind myself and around and stuff, because for whatever reason, what it was in corporate, that's the one thing I found changing from home to corporate, or from corporate to home, was the fact when I don't move, it was those moments when I need to pace, when that is what I absolutely need to do right now. It's much more difficult when you're supposed to be professional, smiling on a Zoom meeting.
And there's a true mind-body connection there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we think better when we go for a walk.
Oh, I have a
we get all these
kinesthetic
great
learner.
ideas.
Yeah, my older son, who's in college now, is a kinesthetic learner, and to learn his spelling words, he had to be jumping up and down all the time. And I do encourage clarity breaks. I want them getting up from their desks. We start internal meetings at 5 after the hour. I want them to have 5 minutes in between meetings. We try to do no meeting Wednesday afternoons. I want them to have a natural rhythm to the week, and we wind down on Friday afternoons. There are no meetings at Wild Coffee at 3, 4, or 5 on a Friday. I just think, everybody's spent, everyone's given it their all. So I think it's to take sort of a pragmatic, humanistic approach to your team and what's possible. And look, they work very hard and there are incredible demands on them, but let's find ways to relieve the pressure valve a little bit, So I think that's really important.
I have a client that has a Slack channel where all we do is tell jokes.
That's great. That's great.
It. That's all you do. That's the joke channel.
I love it. Well, every Friday is our team meeting at Sacred to us. It's 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern on Fridays. I have some West Coast folks in Seattle, so it's 8 a.m. reasonable for them. And we start every meeting with what is your best personal moment of the week and what was your best business moment of the week. And that is intentional. I want to know what their plans are. I want to know what they're up to. I want to hear if their kids are having birthdays, what music they listen to, what concerts they're going to, things like that. And then business, I want to know what they're proud of. I want to know what lit them up that week. And then it surfaces also what's going on inside the company. So we have a couple of ways of sharing information on a daily basis of what everyone's doing. But that Friday, good business, good personal, is the icebreaker for the beginning of that meeting. And it takes time. It's sometimes 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Do you meet one-on-one with your team on a consistent basis?
Yes. So with our clients, starting with, I'm a weekly cadence person. Okay. So all of our clients have a set weekly meeting that does not change unless the client changes it, right? And we ask them to really try not to do that. This is our hour every week.
Yeah.
For team meetings, direct reports, absolutely every week. And then we call our teams pods. And I don't even think we call them pods related to the coffee analogy because I always think of the coffee as a plant and not
Oh,
coffee.
yeah.
But we have pods. And the pods have cross pod meetings and they have their own pod meetings, right? So I do think, you don't want to meet too much because what would be
Yeah.
said in a conference room at lunch and it doesn't get shared, but you have to in
Mhm.
a remote environment. You have
Yep.
to have those meetings. It has to be intentional. So I'm a big weekly cadence person. Big projects, 15-minute stand-ups in the morning. I
Mhm.
feel like when you have a lot of parts moving with a project, you have
Yeah.
areas of risk, you have to do a stand up. So it's like that agile software development, but you end up doing it with your team. It keeps everybody connected. You find out if there are any roadblocks, you know what they're up to that day. So I really like that cadence too. And that's 15 minutes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not even
Yeah.
25, 15.
Mhm.
I love
So
it.
And you also get a read on each other through that.
Yep.
The one thing I knew about my team each day is coming into work was they were going to know how the day was going to go based on how that morning, what I came into that morning. And it was unfortunate. They learned to work with me on it. And I tried hard to put on a happy face. But my team knew, and they always came together and was like, okay, what's going on? Let's figure that out. And it was really wonderful to have that. And those amazing things. But and we even giggled. It became a joke that my hair would be up in its dirty bun once I figured
She's
out.
got her hair up in a bun today.
So, but when I think what the team really wanted, and no matter the atmosphere around us, but the team always wanted that connection. Like, you're stressed out, we're here to help you. What's going on? Or I'm stressed out, I have this customer doing this. What are we going to do to help each other? And I would say it all the time, like, who's available to help who? Can you help her? Can you help him? Like, let's figure this out. And so it was just always nice to have that atmosphere and that connectedness.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where a challenge in the virtual area of having that, because we did talk a lot throughout the day.
Right.
We're-
But you have to encourage it and talk about it. We actually named it. We had a team meeting. Everyone was in town last summer. Or 2 summers ago now. I was so excited to show them this video. I found this video of this turtle upside down and it was stuck. And A Little Help from My Friends by Joe Cocker was playing. And all the other turtles came and flipped the turtle back over. So I was so excited to show this video. I'm up in front of my team and I have this sort of Luddite phobia that they're going to see me as not technologically savvy because of my age, right? So I was like, I got the link embedded in the Google Slides. This is perfect. I clicked the link and it won't play. It won't play.
Of course.
So what did they do? They all came running to the front. My most technically savvy guys come running to the front. And I'm like, oh my God, you're the turtles that I'm trying to show you that you are. But they exemplified the turtle going and flipping the other turtles. So we've had this flip the turtle sort of concept, and it's part of our lexicon. So our creative director had COVID and was out for 2 days this week. She is a huge producer of creative output in our company. We happen to have taken on a lot of new clients recently that had a lot on the docket in those 2 days. But what do? Someone said, yeah, there's going to be a lot of flipping the turtle this week. And everybody knows exactly what that is. They know how to rally around it. It's very clear. And then it's fun and it's light. So it's not, you all cooperate so that we can make more money as a company. I mean, they don't care ultimately, right? It's their job.
Yeah.
So, that's the other thing, that when you hire people into your entrepreneurial endeavor, it is your asset and it's very important to you. And it's something that you're growing and your idea, and you bring people in. It's an honor that people choose to work with us and with me and to believe in me in this. Ultimately, it is their job. And to really, with this great resignation and the shift to more power for our employees, I think it was good. I think it was really good. It keeps me on my toes as a business leader, to really understand their needs and to also be a little objective about it. Like it's not the same sort of experience for them as it is for me. And I'm conscious of that.
Well, and they're not. I think we've heard that, people are lazy and they don't want to work and they don't want to do that. It's not that. I can guarantee I'm not. I feel them because I was the same way. It's not that I don't want to work. I don't want to work for you. It's I want to work for someone who understands the skill set is there, and I'm putting my all into it, and I'm believing in you too. And if you can't meet me at that same type of understanding as as the business owner is, yes, you're paying me, but I'm still coming in and supporting this business and
It's
this
about being
belief every
valued.
single day.
Yes. And I think it's very important to identify the currency of every individual on your team.
Mhm.
Is it compensation? Is it advancement? Is it recognition?
Mhm.
Right. And so I'm very clear on the drivers of my team and I try to meet them there. Right. We recently implemented an individual development plans. And we look at the competencies for every role in the company. And we go together with them over 2 hours of conversation to say, okay, where are we? Where do you think you're excelling here? Where do you need to grow? And then we look at their future career track. And then we design a 70-20-10 program around that. 70% experiential learning, 20% learning through someone else, and 10% formal. And so everyone in the company has a career path. Everyone has their skills validated. Everyone is being developed and grown, cross-functional development, because I don't think you can start a venture without a track for your team. Like they're looking to grow. They're looking, especially sort of the guys that we're hiring earlier in their careers. They're trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
They're trying to grow. You have to give that. I may be a 20-person company, but we can offer that too. It just takes some organization around it and developing those plans. So
Yeah.
I love that. It's beautiful.
So before we move on to marketing stuff, if there was one piece of advice that you would have given your younger self, like back in 2016, 17, when this was just an idea, what one piece of advice would you give yourself?
I would have told myself to figure out the formula right away. What is the formula for the business? I recently met with the chairman of the board of a publicly traded company through a friend, and he agreed to meet with me because he likes young business leaders, and which I am not entirely. But he said to me, "You're a sales organization." Right. And I've always said, if you're not always selling, you don't have a business. But if I wish I had just figured out like the economic formula and the driver, I just sort of went. And I think maybe that's the beauty of it too, is that you're like, I'm really good at this one thing. So I'm going to do this one thing for other people. And I'm going to do it for a lot of them. And I'm going to grow a little business. And next thing you know, we have 18 people. So it took a few years. But what is the formula? It is a sales organization. It is a time selling organization. So what do you need to be selling for your time versus what are you paying for the cost of the people to do that time? There are a lot of formulas in our business, a lot of KPIs. So I wish I had sort of figured that out a little sooner. And then I've gotten steadier over the years in that I'm just much more objective about how I approach everything, including the business. I don't know that you can rattle me at this point. After COVID, and we lost our biggest client within 7 days. Wow.
We've heard that several times with other guests. Like the point, the lesson was COVID and losing a major client or losing their health.
Yes.
It was quite the expedited
growth period. Yeah. And it was just very interesting that the whole planet was sort of going through something at the same time. I don't know when it's been like that other than an ice age or other sort of illness outbreaks like the plague or polio. I don't know. But we all sort of had a lot of the same concerns and we made it through. So there's just not a lot. There's not a lot that can really get to me at this point.
And I think too, I think it comes with age. I don't know about you, but I'm over 50 and there's just, like you said, there's not a whole lot that's going to rattle me. Like there just aren't any really life-threatening emergencies out there when it comes to my business.
No, everything will be okay. I actually have a big sort of poster of that says everything will be okay next to my desk, and it will. But you have to figure out the formula. And if you're not growing revenue and you're not managing your cash flow, then you don't have a business, right?
Yeah.
So the focus on the cash flow forecasting, understanding how much business you need, what resources you need to support that, especially sort of in a professional services realm, is really important. And I feel like I could have dug into the formula earlier, and by the grace of something, we have managed to grow the company. We made the Inc. 5000 list last year. We're applying for that again this year. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. So, it's just, you have to really, really know them.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to marketing, because I feel like when our guests come on, they have all this awesome wisdom to share. And we've said this before. We had four of us on a podcast a few weeks ago, and almost a century worth of experience in different areas, right? And so you've got 25 experience. I've got over 20 years experience. Laura, where were you? I don't remember.
About 20 years at this point.
So we're looking at almost a century's worth of experience in the room. But do we know everything? Absolutely not. Can we still learn from other people? And the way to do that is by listening to the struggles and the challenges and the way, here, this is what I did, and it was a total waste of time, energy, money, whatever. It was a total fail, as they say now. But so early on, what kind of marketing things did you totally oh yeah, this is going to be it, and then not?
We thought that the key to our success is going to be making marketing programmatic for lots of customers. And the nature of what we do, which is strategy, right? Wild Coffee is a strategy first firm. We work with private equity firms to help them in their value creation process. When they acquire a new company, we get in there and see how quickly we can ramp things up. We can rebrand, things like that. You cannot make that formulaic,
right,
at all on the marketing side. There are so many nuances.
Yes.
There is very little that's programmatic. Even in a situation now with search engine optimization, they're really going to sell you hours because every single engagement is different. So whether we were working in a $5,000 engagement or a $20,000 engagement, it was the same amount of work. And so we really had to figure out what is it that, where was our sweet spot? And we found that it's a mix, right, of things. But what people neglect, and what we certainly did too then, was your owned channels. It's your own media. When's the last time you went to your website on your phone and made sure it was responsive, made sure it looked great, or all of your forms connected? Are you posting with a regular cadence? Have you figured out what keywords are going to drive organic search there? So I think people neglect some of their owned channels and start diving into tactics and marketing before they figured out a strategy.
Yeah.
At what rate can you afford to acquire a customer? Yeah, they just do. And if it were that easy, right? If everybody could just start a Facebook campaign and a Google Ads campaign and drive traffic and business, everybody would do it. But it's not, especially now, especially with our limitations on targeting, but you have to have a roadmap of where you're going.
I can't tell you how many people come to me and go, I want you to do my social media. I need help with social media. Okay, great. What does your marketing plan look like? A what?
Right.
Or, well, we haven't really, and so it's the old saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
Kind of thing. And having some kind of strategy, I mean, yeah, we could just throw posts up there, but they're not going to perform.
No, and they'll be incredibly generic too. And then the engagement rates will be low, and then it just, nothing sort of works from there. We insist, we actually do strategy sessions with our clients when we start a new engagement. So we will spend a half day, full day in the office and uncover everything. Sometimes we even do that before we develop a scope and have a consulting engagement in place. And we unearth a lot, because how am I going to even sort of put together an engagement when I haven't even really unearthed what's happening in your business, where the areas of opportunity and growth are? Is it adjunct and adjacent product lines? Is it market expansion? Is it growth through return on ad spend increases? I have to get in there and figure out what the drivers of growth are, and then I can build. And we act as outsourced CMOs and outsourced marketing teams, because in-house marketing teams in this environment are incredibly expensive. Yeah. And you can hire 9 people and still not cover the skill sets you need and still have to hire freelancers or an agency at that point.
Yeah.
So we work directly with CEOs. In many cases, we are the marketing team, and it's a model I believe in. There is a certain size company where absolutely that function needs to be in-house, but for most middle market companies, upper middle market, it's not feasible.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
that's
for the
kind of
cost
what
of 2 people.
that what in the agency feel, doing that, it's, you're small enough in this small business arena where building a team internally for every single department isn't quite enough. But the idea of now managing a bunch of different people is always hard. So those are always the questions we get is,
Right.
you're giving me time, yay, but now I'm managing people. And I'm like, well, there's a way around that. There's a way that we work with that. So
there's a formula, right?
we're not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe in outsourcing, right? So, I'm an outsourced CMO to a home improvement company based out of Atlanta as part of one of our consulting engagements. So it's different, right? Then we use an outsourced CFO, right? Bookkeepers and accountants, very important. Bookkeepers reconcile your books. They're looking backwards, but who's going to help you forecast what you need to do for the future? And CFOs, you don't need one. You probably can't afford one full time,
right?
But fractionally, a couple hours so that they can look at your balance sheet and your P&L and your sales forecast and your cash flow to say, okay, guys, let's look at this. And it's where we unearthed a part of our business that was much more profitable than what we were focused on. Yeah. And then you figure out how to scale that, right? So, outsourced HR is another area. There are tons of fractional HR folks that you can come in to do your employee handbooks.
It's
right?
needed. It is so needed.
Yep.
There's
Benefits
so many
policies.
things that these small companies are doing that are, if not outright illegal, dangerous. Okay.
Right.
Well, and the fractional part that you talk about is, it's that reminder, when we were like, well, you hire a virtual assistant. I'm like, it's not 40 hours a week. This is not a typical, not how this works. This is that fractional. This is that freelance staff. And that understanding coming to where those changes are, because coming out of a job or corporate or something, we see things a different way. Like everybody's working 40 hours, everybody's got, healthcare, and they've got all this and that. So when you think hiring, you think that. And I'm like, look, if it's just, even if it's 10 hours, if it's something where it's just every month you need this done, that's helpful. That helps your business. That can be done. And it's not then that really hiring of staff that people are thinking. So
no, because it's a huge commitment. I mean, it's salary plus 30%. By the time we pay out sort of benefits, we do 401k matching, it's 30%. Yeah. And it's a commitment, right? Like you had said that, you're not sure about people's skills. We're not in the same room with them. We're not sitting down the hall from them, I
can't look over their shoulder or pop in real quick.
No. Yeah. So it's like the temp to hire makes sense. And then fractional makes sense because it's less of a commitment. We do month-to-month contracts, and it doesn't happen. We have very low attrition of our clients, but I think to look at when you're building a business, like look at who you're talking to and what you need to say and how you're saying it. It's very basic on your own channels, right? Like, what does your website look like? What is your social saying? Is everything very clear? And then above the fold on your website, do they know? Is there a phone number, or is there a contact us? Is there a consultation? Is there something like, there should only be 3 things when people hit a screen to do, not 7, 3, right? So there's some basics you can do, and then really don't market anything or spend $1 until you have a strategy and awareness, and then try little things and incrementally test. And then
A/B testing, it's just huge.
Yeah.
I had a client come, was referred by another client. She wanted Facebook ads. I was like, yeah, not my thing, but I know somebody. So I brought them in. Again, this outsourcing, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. So I said, look, you can just hire her. It's going to be really expensive, or we can hire her. She can consult with us and we can do it together. Right. Mm-hmm. And this particular business owner went to it so wholeheartedly. And when I said we need a marketing plan, she's like, all right, how do we do that? And she did it. And we increased her engagement without ads, 400%. Great. Because she did the things. We created a strategy and we followed it. And it was painful though. First couple of months, there's always this front loading that you have to do, especially with marketing and strategy.
Yes. And it's funny because we used to just say our engagements are front loaded. We accepted it. And now we don't. Because now what we'll do is the projects up front. So all of that front loading work is actually project fees. And then we go into a monthly retainer. So and that's what the formula that I'm talking about too, is that we absorbed a lot of extra work. It was part of agreement. It's hard to charge for it. And we said, no, let's break it out. That onboarding is broken out into something else. That's, an onboarding fee, or that's a strategy plan, that's branding, so we sort of figured that out, and it's not sort of.
I eventually did too.
Yeah. Good. You're the second person that's mentioned that, Amy. It's very interesting because somebody recently was just discussing that with me. Like, it's come to a point where those upfront fees aren't put into it, where if you do it as an upfront, this is the project, this is everything in the beginning, and then monthly, this is where we go.
Right.
And setting it up even in your outsourcing and in all your projects and things that you're doing. Yeah, it was very interesting because I had never thought about it that way. Now hearing you also say that, I was like, the universe works.
Right. Well, and especially, why should you have to absorb so much extra work up front? And it's very common in the digital agency space to have onboarding fees, setup fees, one-time fees, because there's a lot of work that goes into that. And they sort of figured out the formula for that. As a consulting firm that has years long, Carolina Skiff, they're the largest manufacturers of boats under 30 feet in the US, and Sea Chaser Boats has been our client for 4.5 years. So we have very long engagements because we are their team. And even if we have turnover inside the company, which also is fairly rare,
it's transparent to the client.
Yeah, it's transparent to the client. It's not like they start over. We make sure that there's continuity there, and it's they're buying into Wild Coffee and sort of our way of working, even if they value the people. But I just don't think you need to work up for free up front if there's a lot of work in the beginning of an engagement.
No,
yeah,
for sure.
So one real quick piece of marketing advice for your younger self, or for like that you hear yourself saying over and over and over again to clients.
Content is king in this environment. You're never going to be found by someone if you are not a prolific writer. And I'll explain to B2B CEOs that I'm so sorry that you sell software, but you're actually a publisher too. If you look at someone like HubSpot in our field, right, the CRM company, they are prolific publishers.
Blogs, lots and lots.
Lots and lots of writing. And it's not writing for writing's sake. It's writing quality. It's writing content that's useful. But people, I'm shocked at, 40, 45, $50 million companies, and we go in and they haven't changed their website in 8 months. And then there's all of their competitors are around them being found for free. And they're not, because they're not ranking, because they're not writing, right? So really making sure that content strategy, organic search is your lowest cost, most valuable long-term strategy in many cases, because there are people finding you without you having to pay for them.
Yeah. So that's awesome advice. I love it. You're a genius as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, you're so sweet. I've just been doing this. It's actually, I need to update my bio. It's like 31 years now.
Yeah.
And I actually told a team member
today. It creeps on, doesn't it?
It sure does. Just sitting in my room by myself for 7 years. I told a team member today, I said, I just don't know. Like, show me something I haven't seen. I dare you, no, I'm teasing. Yeah. It's just, that by virtue of being here for a long time, we're able to accumulate a lot of wisdom. And if you are open and you seek and you read and you understand and you listen, I think that we all have the potential to be great leaders. And I think it took me longer. I think, I was raising 2 children by myself as a single mom while building a business. And I think there was a lot of static in there, but I have become very clear as time has gone on. And I'm so grateful for my team and for what I do. And I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Time has flown.
Yeah.
So
Amy has, go
ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Amy does have a free consultation that she does. And so we will put that information in the show notes, but we're going to let her explain it to you. So
Sure, sure. No, on our website, wildcoffeemarketing.com, there are a couple places where you can schedule time with me. And I love helping emerging business leaders, smaller companies, emerging brands, and just to really go through sort of what plans you have and what your owned media channels look like, what tactics are you engaging in. We work across so many different industries and verticals that we have some benchmark data about what's working, what's good, what's not. And I just love to be able to help out, and people can just go and schedule that on wildcoffeemarketing.com.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. One of the things that we like to do, and if you've listened to our podcast before, you know this, but we like to have the current guest introduce our next guest. And next week's guest is Emma Tessler, and Amy is going to tell us all about her.
Amazing. I'll definitely be listening to this one. So Emma Tessler is the founder and CEO of 95 Media, a digital marketing agency that builds results-driven marketing strategies for scaling brands. With 8 years of marketing experience under her belt, Emma helps brands connect with ideal clients, build community, and convert audience members into paying customers through social media marketing.
Awesome. I see there's this theme.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Love it.
I bet you she'll teach you some good stuff too.
Yes. I mean, I think one of the most important things that we can understand as leaders and entrepreneurs is that we don't know what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is always changing in life and in business, especially.
And that.
Everything. Yeah. My son wrote his college essay about it.
Yeah. So as soon as we think we know something, it changes, right?
Yes.
And that's the beauty of that team. And, when you're the leader of the team, you should know it. I'm like, oh my God, my team members are so much smarter than me. Please know that.
That's the key. That's the key. My team's much smarter than me too.
Right.
Our only request this week, as it usually is or has been of late, is we would love to include you in everything we're doing. So be sure to follow us and subscribe in all the places, and y'all know where to find us. So, yes. Of course, the links are always in the show notes. So just click away. All right. Amy, again, thank you so much. It's been awesome chatting with you. And, I would really love to have you back. We like to have anniversary guests that come back, periodically. So we'd love to have you back.
Sounds great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me both.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys on Monday next week at 12 Eastern. We're moving to Mondays.
Mondays at lunch. It's going to be a great conversation. Come see us.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.